On July 30th this year is the second annual Gastroschisis Awareness Day, and I wanted to share with you all why this day is so very important to me. In the summer of 2002, my future husband and I found out that we were expecting a baby. Shortly into the pregnancy, at 18 weeks, we discovered that our child was going to have something called gastroschisis. Gastroschisis is a hole in the abdominal wall that allows things inside to be outside. My baby's intestines were outside of its body. We were warned of everything that could happen, prepared for possibly losing our child, and knowing that our child would have surgery almost immediately after birth to place everything back inside its body. And we followed closely with doctors, many ultrasounds, many tests later, and in January of 2003, our son Joshua was born. When he was born, his belly was whole. There was nothing outside of his body. There was no hole. There was no intestines. There were no signs of anything. The doctors and nurses all standing around started crying a miracle. Tom, Josh's dad, just kept crying over and over that he's okay, he's okay. And then it all kind of came crashing down. At 2 days old, Josh had to have his first surgery. They discovered what had happened is the abdominal hole had closed and cut off any intestines that were outside the body, leaving him with something known as short bowel syndrome. Most infants are born with 200 to 250 centimeters of small intestine. Josh was left with 44. He had to have an IV placed directly to his heart that provided nutrition. He had a feeding tube, and he spent 3.5 months in the NICU. When he came home with the IV and the feeding tube, and he had the IV till he was 6 months old, when a very dangerous infection required that the line needed to be pulled. The doctors decided to wait and see how he did before they placed another line, and he did great. And we spent many years just happy, and he did better than a short bowel kid should be doing, by all doctors' expectations. And I always kind of felt that we did too well. He had just been given the all clear that he no longer needed to see his GI doctor regularly when, at the end of his first grade year, he passed out at school. An ambulance was called, and he came to, and everything seemed okay. The nurse just assumed that it was hot and they were practicing for a concert and all that, but I knew differently. And that started tons and tons of tests. Colonoscopies, multiple. Endoscopies, multiple. And through it all, he was diagnosed with Crohn's disease on top of his short bowel syndrome. The Crohn's disease was most likely brought about by his low immune system from the short bowel syndrome. And since then, we're trying to get it under control. He's on many, many meds. Some meds, the side effects are so scary, but it's the only thing we can hope to save his intestine. And that is why Avery's Angels is so very important to me. Before I've got in contact with the founder, Megan Hall, and discovered this community of people that were just like me, I felt alone. I'd never met anyone else whose child had gastroschisis. And since then I've met hundreds. When Josh was born, the odds of this birth defect were 1 in 5,000. In the 8 years since, that number has risen to 1 in 2,229. It's become one of the most common birth defects in the US and all over the world. Your support is so very, very needed for this very worthy cause. There is no other Gastroschisis Foundation, and we need it. I want you to take this message to heart and consider donating to Avery's Angels. Thank you.